how many more examples? You have to assume there are hundreds more examples of this. And by the way, something that hasn't been focused on, in Donald Trump's first term, he deported 70 U.S. citizens. You can look it up on the Government's Accountability Office website. It's a shame that there's been such little oversight here. And I think, usually...
You personally, Katie Miller, along with your husband, pretty gross. No one wants to hear from you. You lack humanity. And that's exactly what Gavin Newsom had to say about your husband in a takedown in a conversation that we had just a little bit ago.
Probably someone that you and I don't know if we hate equally. I think you may have a little bit more disdain for this. Yes. But in Stephen Miller, right, maybe the most vile figure in this administration, not just because he's bad to look at and his suits don't fit, but this is a guy who we know that Donald Trump is spilling the bile, this disgusting rhetoric every day, but it's his illegal, immoral mass deportation plan that has now cost the lives of farmers in California. Stephen Miller clearly doesn't care. But after we saw that happen, Donald Trump backtracked a little bit, seeing that this is a politically unpopular issue, only for Stephen Miller to go around Donald Trump's back, right? Yeah. He's like, we're going to keep doing this because Stephen Miller loves the evil. I got kind of two questions here. The first is, what do you want to just look into the camera and directly say if Stephen Miller was watching to him? The second question is, if Miller can just go around his back, I think Donald Trump's in clear cognitive decline. Do you agree?
I think he has more influence than anyone fully appreciates or understands. Mm-hmm. This is a guy, I was with a 16-year-old kid, born in the United States of America in Oxnard, California, Ventura County in Southern California. His mom and dad went to the same packing facility they've been going to for over 20 years. Yeah. They both disappeared. I was with him hours after this occurred. He's bawling and he can't even control himself. He can't even look me in the eyes because every time he looks me in the eyes, he starts crying because mom and dad were disappeared by Stephen Miller. He doesn't even know how to get back into the house. He has no brothers and sisters, no aunts or uncles. That's Stephen Miller's America. That's what he's promoting. And he doesn't give a damn. No. Not only about that 16-year-old, give a damn about the thousands and thousands of other lives he has completely ruined. And so this is serious stuff. It's not politics. No. It's not about his suits or even way. This is about just human decency, man. Decency. It's about cruelty. It's about hate. And that's the stuff we have to call out, man. It's about being human. Yeah. It's about the things that bind us together. I mean, these guys talk about faith. Yeah. They talk about this happened because of some religious construct. The fires may have occurred because of our positions on social issues. Did these guys read the Bible? I mean, they're aware of the New Testament, or are they just fixated on the Old Testament? So, with respect to this guy being a husband, and he has parents, and I imagine they love him and he loves them. I want to be somewhat respectful. A little humanity, my friend. A little damn decency and humanity. So I've just met with too many families whose lives have been totally torn asunder. So it's not an intellectual exercise for me. They are targeting California. They're going after the state like no other state in America. And it is a preview for all of you, a preview for things to come. This is America's coming attraction. What's happened all across this state, the weaponization of grievance, what's happened with the nationalization of the Guard, that's a national order, not an order for LA that can occur any day, anywhere.
Now to that story on the shooting involving immigration agents. Tonight, we're hearing from one of the people inside that vehicle when it happened.
There are still a lot of unanswered questions about what led up to this shooting. Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz is in San Bernardino with the latest.
Martin says he was working with his father-in-law and 18-year-old son-in-law this morning when their vehicle was suddenly surrounded by unmarked cars and masked men.
They hopped out with their pistols already drawn. Then they proceeded to ask us to lower the window and open the doors.
Martin stresses they asked, but masked agents did not identify themselves. They stay in the locked car as agents insist they come out. Moments later, they shatter 2 windows.
Hey, you can't do that! Once the glasses were shattered, my father-in-law feared for his life from his perspective, and so I guess the car was already in drive, so he drove the vehicle away from where those agents were at.
3 gunshots can be heard.
Thank God the bullets didn't go through the truck. They just got stuck into the door. But they were aimed at my brother-in-law, who was in the passenger front.
The family sought the help of San Bernardino police who arrived at their home.
We made a report with them. They told us FBI wasn't going to contact with us.
They say instead it turned into an hours-long standoff with several federal agencies showing up at their home. They say this officer seen pulling out a weapon during the vehicle stop is the same person who fired the gunshots.
He said, or that he didn't shoot, sorry, that those 3 shots were him tapping on the glass. But we have bullet holes inside of the vehicle now.
The Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying in part that during a vehicle stop, a subject refused to exit his vehicle and tried to run CBP officers down, saying he struck 2 officers with his vehicle, and that one officer had to discharge his firearm in self-defense. The video we reviewed does not show the driver trying to run the officers down. The agency did not answer our questions about why the driver was stopped or whether the agents had an administrative or judicial warrant. Community groups are calling for accountability.
It seems there's to be like a lot of impunity, and this might be again one of the cases where we can bring forward to courts and say this is what's happening, right? When you let loose an administration and an agency to just basically create their own rules.
Annabelle Munoz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
I'm the only guy here that's a border state governor. You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games to try to get some news and attention so you can out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you, Ron? You're down 41 points in your own home state.
Cipriani, non due, boss. Cipriani, boss. Hey, Cipriani, boss. No push his defense. No push his stomach. Cipriani. No do it. Cipriani. No do it. Cipriani. Oh my God. I said, doctor. Tell me, doctor. Cipriani, boss. Cipriani. Cipriani. She have 9 months. Said the last night. Cipriani. No doing nothing this year. No doing nothing here. Oh my God. I mean, she's spraying, bro. She's spraying. How 9 months? She's spraying. She has the last time for the mom. She come with the baby. The helmet. Boss, I can see heavy. I should responsibly do this, boss. She heavy. I should responsibly let's do it like this. I should responsibly do it like this. She heavy.
Pausing. Resuming. Pausing.
For establishing tariffs
in our country.
Well, right now the president has taken that authority, but I imagine when we go back in September, we're going to be talking about that.
Why did he take that authority?
You're going to have to ask
You
him.
guys gave it to him. The House of Representatives are responsible for establishing tariffs. You gave that to him. The next thing I'd like to ask you,
That's exactly what's going to happen.
you look at the bigger picture. You're here to take
Tariffs have raised over $150 billion.
Who pays for that? Who pays for that? We pay for that.
Inflation has not gone up.
Inflation has not gone up. There are reasons it hasn't gone up if you look at the...
When Bill Pulte sends a criminal referral over to us, and he says Letitia James and Adam Schiff, and by the way, both their lawyers have come out and talked publicly about that criminal referral. So you can talk to them about the specifics, because I'm going to tell you what we're going to do is we're going to follow the facts. Every American has that has a mortgage or has other documents they sign has to follow the law. We're going to go to the very bottom of the facts. And if somebody did something wrong, we're not only going to hold them accountable, we're also going to look at everything else that they've been doing. Because when you're a liar, you lie not just on one thing. When you're a cheater, you cheat not just on one thing. When you're doing corruption, you generally don't just do it on one thing. So that's our what we're asked to do as prosecutors, and that's what we're doing.
Well, we are all waiting for accountability here.
You're not saying you think Republicans are going to stop it.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. You think for a second I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
Don't give me, who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house? So this is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No, this guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there, January 6th? I think Fox was. At least they were in a lawsuit. They seem to have lost any memory of that. Shareholders didn't. I mean, he tried to light democracy on fire. He dialed for 11, almost 12,000 votes. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And people say, oh, it's just Trump being Trump. It's made me more resolved, even more focused. I didn't hear much of that last panel, but I did hear Jim mention the recall. That's pretty clarifying. A lot of finality in that, a lot of humility in that. You don't come out of a recall campaign the same. I came into that recall campaign still arguing that all politics is local. I still had a romantic notion of that. I intellectualized that a lot of our politics and the discourse was national. I didn't fully appreciate how nationalized our politics have become. In so many ways, that shape-shifted a lot of what we're doing and who I am today. But this last year, these last 6-7 months, this is something altogether different. And I'm on the other side of any kind of hesitancy that I had prior. I'm on the other side of giving a damn about people's feelings about this moment. I will express myself more clearly and more concisely because I see the threats in very vivid terms in ways I never saw before. And I see the consequences of not just those threats from the administration, but the actions of this administration, more perhaps than any other governor in the United States, because I've seen the damage firsthand to communities, this economy, our reputation, to our allies, the world we're trying to build. This is simply the most destructive and damaging individual in my lifetime that happens to be the President of the United States, and I need to be held to a higher level of accountability as governor. So in every way, shape, or way, I have changed, and I also, as a father, as a caregiver, recognize that ultimate judgment will come from them. And even myself, when I'm done, I have to meet this moment. And so, yeah, this has been very clarifying. It's been very sobering. You have the largest private police force in the world. When they're done with this, all that funding and that big, beautiful portrayal allows more resources for this private police force that increasingly is showing a tendency not to swear an oath to the Constitution, but to the President of the United States. And he'll be sending them to voting booths and polling places all across this country. This is a real and serious moment in U.S. history. And by the way, I say that as an American, not as a Democrat. Every Republican should be ashamed about this and scared to death about not just these authoritarian tendencies, but these authoritarian actions by the president. He is weak. He's weakness masquerading as strength. And that makes him more dangerous than most people.
Sometimes local governance does not do the job, and the oversight in D.C. is long overdue.
I was going to ask when you might be calling for the National Guard in Shreveport, which is, you have part of your district is Shreveport. The FBI statistics, actually violent crime per 100,000 residents higher in Shreveport last year than Washington, D.C.
There's a lot of good work that's been done. There's a lot of reasons for that, but we have a Democrat DA there who has not been prosecuting crime as some other more aggressive DAs have around the country. Soros funded that individual to be elected. But I'll say that it's an urban area that has a lot of problems that are happening around the country, and we have to address it.
So will the Guard help? If the Guard can help in D.C., the president has said he wants to send the Guard to Chicago and other places. Why not Shreveport?
I don't know. That's not my call.
Would you
it may
ask
be
him for
necessary.
that?
Well, I don't know. Let's take one city at a time and see. We have to address the crime problem in any city where it's a problem like that. And in large cities like in Chicago, as you mentioned, that would be a big help there. I was there just 2 days ago, and it's a serious, serious problem. They don't even report murders on the evening news in Chicago anymore because it's so common. And Democrat-run cities typically have that problem because they have not been tough on crime. President Trump is one who believes in that, and we do as well. And we've got to take every measure to make sure we're keeping American cities safe. It's common sense.
I want to ask you,
a South Bay man named Oscar tells me this is video of his wife Genesee screaming as federal agents pulled her out of their vehicle in East Palo Alto on Monday morning around 7:30. Oscar says he had just pulled up to a relative's home to get a ride to work, and his wife was getting into the driver's seat to take off when they were approached by men dressed in black who identified themselves as police. Oscar managed to run away and film what was happening from a distance. With the help of an interpreter, Oscar spoke to me on the condition we not show his face.
They made her kneel on the ground, they handcuffed her, and that's when she passed out.
Another family member says he followed the agents who were in minivans, one white and one black, after they took Genesee away. He says at one point they stopped in the parking lot of a hospital. Oscar tells me he tracked his wife on his phone and said the federal agents drove around for almost an hour before they took her to Stanford Medical Center. A hospital spokesperson confirmed that federal agents did bring in a person to the emergency department for treatment around noon.
I want them to hear what they're doing to us, and right now she is now in serious condition.
Oscar tells me his wife suffers from a blood condition that she had already been undergoing treatment for at Stanford.
Pick up those that have criminal background, have committed crimes. I am not against that.
The couple's relative, Izzy, tells me the husband and wife were on their way to work, Oscar as a gardener and Genesee as a housekeeper, when federal agents confronted them.
The contributors are the ones that are being taken. And they're hurting families, they're tearing families apart, they're traumatizing families.
The family's attorney shared with me a photo she says was taken outside Genesee's hospital room where there's men stationed. The attorney suspects there are federal agents waiting for Genesee to be discharged. Also this morning, relatives tell me federal agents took away the woman's 29-year-old nephew, a construction worker, in front of the same home in East Palo Alto. We've reached out to East Palo Alto police as well as ICE, and so far we have not heard back. Mike?
The Everglades was intended to house thousands of detainees, but it's now been emptied due to legal and environmental challenges.
My name is Juan Cuba. I am a DNC member from Florida and a proud immigrant. My parents came to this country, like many others, because they believed in the promise of America. And our country is stronger because of the contribution of the immigrant community. What's happening in Florida is not just unlawful, it's deliberately cruel. A Republican governor commandeered land owned by Miami-Dade County and built a detention camp in 2 weeks in the middle of the Everglades to house thousands of people. People were rounded up, denied access to lawyers, locked in tent camps, and left in heat, filth, and isolation. Families didn't know where their loved ones were. This was intentional. It's meant to instill fear, to disappear people quietly, and now other Republican governors are watching and planning to copy this model in their own states. Florida is the blueprint. If we don't stop it here, it will spread. The National Democratic Party must join the environmental and immigrant rights groups that have been fighting to close this detention camp every day before this becomes normalized.
Today's decision, Trump is barred from using the National Guard and Marines in California for law enforcement purposes. That means the military troops can't engage in arrests, searches and seizures, security patrols, crowd control, interrogation, or anything deemed as executing the law.
Okay, aside from the fact that he's obviously reading his lines on a screen as the Attorney General of the largest state in the United States, forget that, okay? Your response to what he just said.
There's so much of it is false. At this point, Laura, if they didn't have false arguments, they'd have no arguments. They set up these false narratives and premises that aren't true. I dare him to show me one person that was interrogated by the military in Los Angeles. Find me one. That didn't happen.
No, it's just like, it's the same. We just did the segment on Pritzker. We're being invaded if he sends the National Guard. It's an invasion. They're pulling mothers from children. I mean, it's all just one big performance theater nightmare.
My colleague from Minnesota, I think, said the word Biden 8 times, if I'm not mistaken. You couple that with references to the prior administration, that jumps up to 12 or 13. It's unclear to me when Republicans are going to stop complaining and actually do something to address the challenges that face our country. They spend more time talking about Joe Biden than they do about reducing costs. Every sentence from that side of the aisle, Biden, a verb, an adjective, and more coal. That's essentially the sum total of every sentence. And by the way, my colleagues, I suspect, are watching from their offices. I know that more of my colleagues are going to come to the floor here to engage in debate on, I don't know, how many CRAs are they putting on the floor today? 3, 4, 5. That's all we do around here is CRAs. So I encourage them as they're watching, please, when you come to the floor, maybe spend some time talking about your affirmative vision for the country and not so much time talking about the prior president.
They're taking him. They're taking him. Oh, my God, they're grabbing everywhere.
We are likely going to run out of food before you get to the front of the line. So this is our pantry network. Additional places to access food will be back next week. I'm so sorry.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll take a few questions. Mr. Secretary.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. During the last shutdown in 2019, it was the first Trump administration, and they made sure that in the second month of the shutdown, SNAP benefits would go out. They had them sent early. Why do you think they shouldn't do that this time?
Well, the president, this administration has done exactly what he did in the first term, and that is bend over backwards to make sure that we mitigate the harm. We explained here yesterday that any administration in a shutdown scenario has figuratively a control panel of pain dials. In the Obama administration, 2013, when they shut it down, they turned all the dials to 10. They wanted it to hurt.
I love you, but hold on. I heard you, girl. Just settle down. I'm here to talk to everybody, not just you. I mean, you look cute, but I am married. Michelle's fine too.
And Representative Massey and Representative Mace. But what I saw is they cared as Americans and human beings, and they stood with courage. And they looked at this not from politics, they looked at this as what is right. And I'm proud today to be a member of Congress. I'm proud to work with them and I'm proud of what we are showing this country is possible. That if we actually care about American values, maybe we can overcome some of the bitter divides in this country. If we don't care about just getting the credit and maybe work together, we could actually care about forgotten and abandoned Americans like the survivors that testified today. I was so moved by their testimony. How can you hear their testimony, as all of us have heard, see their tears, see them holding up photos at the age of 14, and think that they're not telling the truth? This is not politics, this is humanity. Sometimes we get into these chambers and we forget what happened, of how we grew up. Most of us, we grew up, we went to barbecue, we went to Little League games, we went to church or temple. We didn't fly around in private jets and go to a rape island. We didn't buy off politicians and tell them to keep quiet. We didn't think that it was normal to abuse or rape young girls. And then they're saying, well, we don't know if they were 18 or 22. Come on. It's rotten. Then they say, well, just care about the price of eggs. Just care about the price of health care. You know what's more important than that? American values. These rich, greedy men abused American values. They abused what's sacred about this country. They abused what built this country.
I yield the gentleman additional minute.
And it is time that they're going to have a reckoning. The Epstein class is going to go. And the reason they're going to go is because the progressive left and the MAGA right and everyone in between is finally waking up against this rotten system. And when people are united, when people work across the aisle, amazing things can happen because the American people are kind and good and decent. So it's an honor, Congressman.
Patriot. I will not be intimidated by this president. I am not going to be silenced by this president or the people around him because I've given too much in service to this country to back down to this guy. In 1991, when Donald Trump was driving the Taj Mahal casino into bankruptcy, I was getting shot at over Iraq and Kuwait. In 2001, after Donald Trump said that the collapse of the Twin Towers meant he now owned the tallest skyscraper in Manhattan, I was carrying flags honoring 9/11 victims into space on a rocket ship. In 2003, when Donald Trump was writing birthday greetings to the monster Jeffrey Epstein, I was the first on the scene to recover the bodies of my fellow astronauts who died when Space Shuttle Columbia exploded during re-entry. In 2011, when Trump was hosting a reality show and peddling conspiracy theories against President Barack Obama, I was sitting next to my wife's hospital bed as she recovered from a gunshot wound to the head. My point is this: I've been through a lot worse in service to my country. The president and Pete Hegseth are not going to silence me.
Tonight's Health Watch, forget about being jolly. 'Tis the season for the flu. At least that's what experts are saying. New York and New Jersey already seeing an uptick in flu cases and also hospitalizations. And as Andrew Ramos reports, with the holidays right around the corner, it's bound to only get worse.
You know, I feel like I eat healthy, I exercise, get plenty of rest.
They say having a positive outlook is the key to success, but when it comes to the flu, you may want to have a backup plan.
Every year we get the flu shot in my family, I think, and obviously it's helpful.
Getting the flu shot may be more critical than ever this season as a new mutated strain of the H3N2 flu virus is raising concerns around the globe. That strain known to pack a punch.
Over in Japan, it was an early, and it looks like a little bit of a harsh flu season, and there's a mutated form of the flu virus.
Locally, flu cases and hospitalizations are steadily rising, where New York City reported 2,400 cases this week, a 78% surge from the week before. In New Jersey, flu test positivity rose to 0.7%, mostly impacting patients 65 and older. And Connecticut reported its first death from influenza virus of the 2025-2026 season.
Actually, she gets on TV and brags about the criminal illegal immigrants that she's going after, and all the criminals and the worst of the worst. And that's actually a quote she said, that it was the worst of the worst. And that's absolutely not true. I've got 4 or 5 cases that my wife's in detention with that aren't the worst of the worst as well. And it's just ridiculous what they're doing with innocent people that should not be in jail at all.
So, Jim, I want to talk to you about that because when you've been able to speak with your wife, first let's talk about what you just said there, though, about other cases. These are other people who were with her in that detention center, and she's sharing stories with you that it's not unique to her experience, that there are people that she's with who are similarly locked up for months and months and months who have not committed serious crimes or crimes at all. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, there's, for example, there's a French lady in there that actually was coming up to the immigration counter, and she was arrested for getting her green card. She actually went through the procedure, and they arrested her because, for no reason really. She's actually sitting in detention because she was applying for a green card, which is absolutely legal. There's a case in there where this gal is from Venezuela that has heart problems, and she has heart valve problems. They haven't given her the medical attention she needs, and she's been in there for 3 months now. There's a case from a lady from Guatemala that they haven't even given a hearing to, and her next hearing is not until October of 2026. So that's just a couple. So there's a lot of things going on that are just atrocious. I'm following, since I went real public, I've got several other people that are in similar situations. There's a guy that had a minor drug charge that was 17 when he got to charge, and he's 40, and he went across the Canadian border, and they locked him up. And that one's actually going to Magaziner's office. We first started this journey, I guess you would say. We were talking about she had pointed out all the discrepancies with toilets being clogged, and they made her eat a pill off the floor. They did all kinds of different things. And then they put her in solitary confinement for a week because she ate a cup of ramen. All kinds of nonsense. But because of retaliation reasons, I haven't heard a lot in the last month and a half or so, because they will absolutely retaliate against you. I've called the jailer there for a while. When it first started, the jailer, they would send me straight to the jailer after a while because they knew I was going to say something. And he basically, my wife filed complaints against him and whatever, and I said something about that to him, and he said that both of us were lying to him, that his jail would not ever be that way.
What happens next? I mean, she's been there, for 4 months? I mean, is there a day that's set?
We had a hearing on the 18th of December. And I literally phoned 100 people when this first started, 100 senators and congressmen, and Magaziner stepped up. And Senator Duckworth did too. I will give her that. But I'll tell you that I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you.
When your own state turns their back on you, it's something else. And it's funny because I think they have a script that they read when they get questions about how vile the system is. I believe they have a script that they read because all of them have the same answer, which was, I don't deal in legal matters. And that's that. We have due process, and which is nonsense as well. That's a whole nother subject. Yeah.
We appreciate you. So that's where they're what's the latest there? I see there's a discharge petition circulate. What's going on with all this?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've spent a few months here as a member of Congress. I spent more than a decade working in Congress, watching Republicans try to come up with their health care plan. And here we are 15 years after the Affordable Care Act, and they're now trying to come up with their health care plan. Problem is, anytime I watch Republicans here put their heads together on health care, they seem to come up with new and creative ways to take more health care away from more hardworking people. And the proposals that they're putting forward, a lot of them would do just that. They'd actually drive up premiums even more. And look, there's a simple fix here. We have a bill, a 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act premium tax credits, a clean extension. They need to sign on to that bill, put that on the floor, pass it through the Senate this week, and we can move on. And if they want to then have that larger discussion and debate around healthcare, we can do that. But we got a crisis right now. My constituents and folks across the country are staring at skyrocketing premiums in a couple of weeks, just after the holidays. So we need to pass a clean extension, and then we can do more work on healthcare if that's really what they think they want to do.